Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we're going to talk about the very strong farmland market with Mark Stock from Big Iron Auction and Realty. He'll give us some of his thoughts on what is really making it a seller's market right now. We'll also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, as well as our weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com. In agriculture news from agview.net, U.S. consumers will pay just a few cents less for their favorite Independence Day cookout foods compared to last year. That includes cheeseburgers, pork chops, chicken breast, homemade potato salad, strawberries, and ice cream. The American Farm Bureau Federation reveals the average cost of a summer cookout for 10 people does remain affordable at $59.50. That is less than $6 a person. The cost for the cookout down 16 cents. That's less than 1% from last year, but 8% higher compared to 2019. The largest year-to-year price increase was for strawberries. Survey results showed 2 pints of strawberries at $5.30. That's up 22% from last year, now due to strong demand and the effects of several weather events, including severe hail and high winds that caused significant setbacks to the harvest early this year. The Farm Bureau Summer Cookout menu consists of cheeseburgers, pork chops, chicken breast, homemade potato salad, pork and beans, strawberries, potato chips, and fresh squeezed lemonade with ice cream and chocolate chip cookies for dessert. Cattlemen's Heritage plans to build a $325 million beef processing plant in southwest Iowa. The facility will employ 750 people, a target of being operational late in 2023. Cattlemen's Heritage is a newly formed company. They plan to build the facility near Council Bluffs to process some 400,000 head of cattle annually. The facility expects to process cattle from Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota, and the facility will also help address the issue of the cattle processing capacity in the U.S. That is a hot topic in agriculture today. The 4 largest meat packers in the United States process roughly 85% of the nation's beef supply. Disruptions in beef cattle markets started back in 2019 when that fire halted beef processing at the Tyson facility at Holcomb. Well, speaking of the beef industry, the Senate Judiciary Committee will be having a hearing later on this month on consolidation in agribusiness, and meat processors are going to be under scrutiny. That according to the senior Republican on the panel, Chuck Grassley of Iowa. He said he expects to hear a lot more from meat packers that are making $1,200 a head when farmers are losing money and the consumer's price has not gone down. Grassley said that he expects the recent Senate Ag hearing on the cattle market to result in some sort of legislation. He's just not clear what could conclude in that legislation. You can find more ag news online at agview.net. Stay with us. Mark Stock from Big Iron will join us shortly. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
And joining us is Mark Stock, one of the co-founders of Big Iron Auction and Realty Company. And Mark, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure to be here, Ken. Good to see you, sir.
You and I have been friends for quite a while, and it's a great story. And folks need to do some research and see how you all have grown this business. But the reason why we want to have you on is really to talk about this literal explosion in the land market. And you've done some research and just observations, and your team have come up with maybe 3 key points of why this land market's doing what it's doing. And what do you think is the biggest factor?
Well, you know, inflationary things, usually people like to put stuff in that maintains a good, steady increase in value over time. And land has always shown that it's one of the better investments out there. But, you know, low interest rates is driving a lot of this, Ken. We've seen tremendously low long-term fixed interest rates that are appeasing to a lot of people. And of course, the government then changed their first-time land loan order programs, increased the limits up to 600,000, which helps a lot of the younger people now participate. And then a lot of lenders will take that loan over on whatever additional funds are there needed to close that transaction. But we also see commodity prices too that have stimulated this market. So yeah, when you have 13 and 14 and $15 beans, and you have $5 and $6 selling opportunities from old crop and new crop corn, that always stimulates the market. And we don't see a lot of land on the market right now. So just like everything, when you have supply and demand coming into play, then you see a run up in values. But land's a good investment long term. Short term, sometimes you wonder, but long term, it has always been a good positive thing to put money into.
You talked about investments. That's always been the kind of catch-22. If you're in agriculture, you know, who are those that are buying that land? Is it farmers? Is it outside investors?
You know, it's a little bit of both, but it's still end users are buying predominantly most of the land. We have seen a lot of the second to last bidders on some of our online land auctions are from investment groups, but even they have a number that they're striving for. But the majority of the time, an end user usually ends up with it. But the investor groups are adamantly looking to put money in. There's a lot of these folks in the big roll hundreds of thousands or $1 million into funds, and then they own a small percentage of some farmland because they also see the value that farmland brings to the equation. We've got carbon credits that might be a big added value to land ownership. So that inspires a lot of the folks that want to invest into land to throw more money into that equation. So, you know, eventually they're going to have to adjust where they want for their return on investment to get some of it bought, because an end user will pay more because they've driven by it all their life and they just need to have it, right? My mom always said when something comes up for sale a couple miles from where you live, you're probably only going to have one shot in your lifetime to own that. So that's why the end users play hard when there's something close to their operation.
Mark Stock from Big Iron Auction Realty is joining us. Let's take a break. We're going to talk about this hot land market as well as the hot farm machinery market. We return. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. Mark Stock from Big Iron Auction and Realty is joining us. And Mark, we're talking about the land market. I also want to talk a little bit about machinery in just a little bit, but you know, you had some factors on what's driving this and what the bottom line is. It's a hot market to own land.
It's a hot market. It's a very hot market to own land, driven by a shortage of supply. So if there's anybody out there thinking about selling land, now might be a good time. And another factor to consider it is we really don't know, Ken, what's going to go on in Washington right now with all of the rules that dictate 1031 exchange, whether they'll even be around anymore. We don't know how the inheritance or estate taxes may be changing. They're talking about it all the time. They're talking about giving exemptions to ag folks so the land can stay in the family farm, or the family farm can stay in the family. But sometimes it's out of your control if it's out of your control. And right now we've got some folks that are talking about getting their land put on the market. In fact, we're selling a bunch of land throughout Kansas here in just a couple of weeks because these folks know what the rules are right now, and they can work with these rules as they're established right now. And they're going to probably do some 1031 exchanging when this property sells. But supply is important, and there is not a lot of supply out there, but it's something to consider if you're worried about the taxes situation.
Kind of like the same thing in the equipment business. You and your company, one of the early adapters, early leaders in a different way to market equipment through online auctions, and now you're one of the standard bearers, if you will, around the country. And so you have your pulse on what's going on with machinery sales, this resale of this equipment. I understand it's just about as hot as the land market. Good equipment.
It's extremely hot, and it's driven because the big farmers can't get anything new for a while because COVID has shut down manufacturers. Supplies to put the products together have been delayed, and then of course the labor situation has delayed everything. So if you are a farmer and you've got additional acres that you put into your operation because somebody has retired and you need an extra planter or an extra tractor or a bigger combine, boy, I tell you what, you can't get a new combine right now till after harvest if you ordered one from most of the manufacturers. So if you see a used combine that's low houred or a used corn head, in fact, some of these draper heads and these shellborn stripper heads that are selling right now are bringing full bore retail, if not a little bit more, because they just can't get them. So it's a supply and demand cycle, Ken, that is driving the market. Also commodity prices driving the market. If they're gonna figure out a way to beat a little Uncle Sam in the farm sector, they'll buy a newer piece of machinery if they can get their hands on it.
So the way I understand it is you're saying right now is a seller's market.
It is a seller's market. We've got folks that we're planning on retiring or having their retirement auction next year. They're looking at what these prices are right now. They can recapture a lot of their depreciation just based on the uplift in the market. So they're pulling the trigger now, and we're having sales in July and August already on retirement auctions when they're usually done in November and December because they want to take advantage of this.
Mark, if folks want to learn more about what the Big Iron Auction Realty does, or meet some of your team members, maybe have some discussions, how can they do that?
Well, if you go to our website, bigiron.com, that's the first avenue to reach us. There's a button there that says contact Big Iron or sell your equipment or sell your land. And our phone number is smeared all over the bottom of the pages too. So pick up the phone, give us a call. We'll connect you to the rep who is local to your area. That's one thing we pride ourselves. We are local everywhere we're at. The people live in the areas in which they serve. So they know the market, they know the sellers, they know the buyers. It's a smooth transition.
All right, Mark, it's always great to catch up with you. Thanks for giving us your insights. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ken.
Mark Stock with Stock Auction Realty has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
This is Deb Oldie, Director of Grower Services with Kansas Corn. Excited to share a bit of information with you about two activities that we have coming up over the next couple of weeks. The deadline for the Kansas Corn Yield Contest is August 18th. That contest is rolled into the national contest. So Participants are going to be fortunate to be able to be entered in both with just one entry this year. Likewise, your harvest form will be filled out just once as well, submitted through the national portal, and we'll have access to that to designate winners in 10 regions within the state of Kansas. Cash prizes are offered for that, and we're excited to see some great yields coming in soon. The second thing that we're planning and looking forward to in early August and early September are our listening tour stops across the state and also a couple of field days. We will be in almost every corner of Kansas at 7 different events. The listening tour stops are evening activities, and the 2 field days are more during the day. But we invite you to come out and see Kansas corn at those various locations. We'll be at Salina, in the Salina area, Moundridge, also Goodland, Garden City, Marysville, Lawrence, and also Fredonia. So be looking for the publicity on that and some direct invitations coming to your mailbox soon. And we look forward to seeing you.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
It's officially wheat harvest time in Kansas. This year's wheat crop was hampered by a mix of freeze damage, drought, and disease pressure. Test cutting began earlier, but harvest really kicked off on June 16th in south central Kansas and progressed quickly through the area with the hot and dry temperatures that week. South central Kansas reported average yields and good test weights. Early protein reports in the area have been variable, but lower than average and slightly lower than last year, with averages from 10 to 11.5%, depending on individual field management. Parts of the state through the central corridor were also able to get moving with harvest while the temperatures remained hot. Reports of wheat streak mosaic virus in central Kansas are uncommon, but with the dry weather last summer, volunteer wheat came up late and wasn't controlled in some cases. Stripe rust was also a concern this year with the wet May weather, and farmers who applied a fungicide noted that it has really paid off. A cool front brought scattered showers and cooler temperatures on June 20th, which has slowed the progress of harvest through southwest and central Kansas. Farmers were thankful for the rains to benefit fall crops. Yields in southwest Kansas are coming in about average, which is much better than many farmers expected in late April, when they had pretty much written off the crop. The May rains provided excellent grain fill conditions. Test weights remain excellent, above 60 pounds per bushel, and there are pockets of exceptional protein depending on which fields received scattered showers throughout the growing season. Overall, this appears to be an average crop in terms of yield and protein content, which is much better than anyone thought it would be several weeks ago. Harvest is about a week to 10 days behind normal and won't be wrapped up until mid-July. Sporadic sprinkles are keeping many Kansas wheat farmers on edge as they wait for moisture levels to decrease enough to get back into the combine. Elevators are taking in loads, however, as farmers who can are continuing the slow but productive march of the 2021 Kansas wheat harvest.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
The Kansas Beef Council recently partnered with the Kansas Nutrition Council to provide a presentation to registered dietitians and public health nutritionists at their virtual annual conference. The checkoff-sponsored session was presented by pediatric dietitian Jill Castle, who discussed the updated 2020 dietary guidelines and research that supports beef's nutrient package of protein, iron, zinc, and choline for healthy, growing bodies and brains. Starting with beef as a complementary first food for babies can ensure they get the nutrients they need during this critical stage of growth and development. The Kansas Beef Council also partnered with the Arkansas, Texas, and Wyoming State Beef Councils to present a checkoff-sponsored session on sustainability at the annual Nutrition and Dietetics Conference jointly held between the 4 states' academies of nutrition and dietetics organizations. This presentation by registered dietitian Jennifer Otten encouraged attendees to critically consider benefits and trade-offs in terms of nutritious and sustainable diets with a focus on the beef industry. The session provided practical recommendations for more than 270 dietitians who work in a variety of settings. Checkoff-funded sessions like these are essential to communicate accurate, science-based information about beef nutrition to key opinion influencers that can be conveyed to the large consumer audience these dietitians reach through daily nutrition advice and recommendations.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Mitch Dewar here with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. On March 31st, the USDA estimated corn acreage at 91.14 million acres, beans at 87.6 million acres, and wheat at 46.358 million acres. Over the past 3 months, the trade has talked a lot about a large increase of acres. On Wednesday, June 30th, the USDA released the highly anticipated planted acreage and quarterly stocks report. The analyst estimates for the June report had corn pegged at 93.787, beans at 88.955, and wheat at 45.94. The actual corn and bean numbers came in quite friendly, with a projected number of 92.7 and beans being unchanged at 87.6. Wheat acres were increased by 760,000, but the quarterly stocks wheat number was friendly, as was the corn and soybeans quarterly stock number. With this bullish news, the grain sector saw a large move to the upside. Over the next couple weeks, the weather in the Corn Belt will be traded and watched closely. Over the past few weeks, a good portion of the droughty areas have received some moisture to relieve the dry conditions, but will need some more over the next month to help the crop along. With the balance sheet remaining tight, the trade will continue to be volatile. As we see a price boost along with moving into the 4th of July weekend, now is a great time to look at your operation from a marketing and profitability standpoint. If you would like to talk about your grain marketing plan and how to take advantage of these prices, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I hope everyone has a safe and happy 4th of July. I'm Mitch Dewar with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom.
Well, that's our show. It is harvest time around the state of Kansas. There's going to be more farm equipment than usual right now, so do take an extra minute because it's payday for Kansas farmers. Be social with us online at kansasagreport.net or on our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Kansas Ag Report.